queremos un cambio distinto.
Colombia has suffered so much violence. We want change.
Tanta violencia.
Especially violence in families must stop. That's where it all starts. It's the root cause of conflict.
If we continue the struggle, keep resisting, we might experience fundamental changes.
Desde las comunas de Medellín, desde las lomas y los barrios de Bogotá, tres mujeres guerreras cambiando al mundo con arte, con fe y con resistencia.
Diana Avila, Teresa Castrillon, and Yamili Ocampo are Colombians. Representing 3 different generations, they all have the same goal: peace in Colombia. The country has suffered more than half a century of civil conflict. The violence involving left-wing guerrillas, right-wing paramilitaries, drug cartels, and government troops has claimed more than 220,000 lives, with a further 25,000 missing. Teresa Castrillon is on her way to Puerto Berrio, a town in central Colombia. She hasn't been back for some time. The 55-year-old grew up in Puerto Berrio, got married, and started her own family there. Teresa was 5 when the conflict started. Her earliest memories are happy ones.
My childhood in Puerto Berrio was wonderful. I remember the beautiful sunsets in the countryside. In spite of the violence that we experienced, I still remember the happy time I spent with my perfect family.
Teresa is visiting Ave Phoenix, an organization she helped develop in Puerto Berrio. It supports the victims of violence and helps trace missing persons. Since leaving the town, Teresa has lost touch with the work here. She uses the opportunity to pay a visit.
In 2006, a group of students started a social project as part of their final exams. They compiled lists of victims of violence. One of those students was a close friend of ours. And he said to me, "Teresa, you've lost your whole family. Don't you want to work with us?"
Eventually, Teresa ran the organization until she had to leave Puerto Berrio. Her late husband had run up debts with shady creditors. These people are still threatening to use violence, which is why Teresa rarely visits Puerto Berrio. It's simply too dangerous. But she misses Ave Phoenix and also her youngest daughter, who is studying civil engineering here and plays in an orchestra in her free time. The mother and daughter don't have much time together. Teresa is curious about what she'll discover at the offices of Ave Phoenix. Some 250 kilometers south of Puerto Berrio lies the capital, Bogotá. Here, on the outskirts of the city, musician Diana Avila is paying a visit at this youth center.
Hi, my name's Diana. Do you know rap? Well, I've been a rapper for more than 14 years. I'm 28 now.
Diana often does voluntary work with teenagers discussing the social problems in Colombia. Her main focus is discrimination against women. She sings and speaks out against macho attitudes and sexism. Today, she's presenting the video of her biggest hit so far.
In my song, I want to uncover the incredible lies they use to silence and intimidate us. I want to show how they rob us and jail us and present us as pretty dolls. A woman is not free just because she wears a miniskirt and a plunging neckline. That just means she's a prisoner of consumerism and the media. A woman liberates herself when she starts to think and to read, and when she starts to discover her capabilities and to raise her voice.
La mujer nace. No, las mujeres no estamos para ser las muñequitas.
No,
ni
we
para
women
ser
are
las
not dolls, the
violentadas, ni para
abused,
ser las
murdered, and
asesinadas,
raped.
ni las
That's
violadas.
not
No
our
estamos
purpose.
para eso.
And we're
Y
going to
decimos
break
una
our
más, ni
silence.
una más.
Diana has herself been a victim of the prejudice that women are less capable than men. As a teenager, she discovered rap and hip-hop and was captivated by the music and the edgy lyrics. She began to write her own songs and perform them on the streets, but she never believed she'd be truly successful.
When I told my friends at school that I wanted to do rap, they told me, "You'll never be a rapper." And women only sing in choirs.
Dos, las mujeres hacen los coros en las canciones.
But by chance, she met a music producer, and today she's one of Colombia's best-known rappers and even tours abroad. As a single parent, she knows the problems of Colombian women very well, and now she says she's planning to write a song about Teresa, Yamili, and herself, the three warriors. Will she really write it, or would that be too political?
There are people who attack me and say I should leave political issues to the newspapers, but I don't agree with that criticism. Our country has to open its eyes and get its act together really soon. And as a rapper who gets heard, I can't afford to keep quiet and just be a pretty girl. I simply can't.
Some 250 kilometers to the northwest, Yamili Ocampo lives in one of the infamous neighborhoods of Medellin, symbol of the violent drug trade. The Medellin cartel, run by Pablo Escobar, terrorized this city for nearly 20 years. And even today, the kids of Medellin are involved in gang warfare. It may not look like it, but Yamili's way to work is dangerous.
I experienced the drug war and the whole conflict surrounding Pablo Escobar while growing up. The kids in my neighborhood were the middlemen, the thieves, the delinquents. I saw how they murdered police officers. Pablo Escobar paid them to kill policemen. And the kids from my neighborhood, my friends, became involved in this armed conflict. So things were tough when I was growing up.
Fue una adolescencia difícil.
Today, the 35-year-old educationist works in one of the libraries set up as private initiatives. Most of the kids who come here are from poor families and don't have any books at home.
The kids are often aggressive and violent. That makes things difficult. But we combat that with other weapons. We treat them with kindness and read to them with enthusiasm and affection.
Yamili discovered books by chance herself. As a teenager, she was more interested in boys with motorcycles. They were the gang leaders. But during a school internship, she got to know a librarian.
I thought he was cute, so I went to the library a lot. He never became my boyfriend, but I learned to love books. I pulled away from my previous life, from the kids, the neighborhood, and the parties. I dived into the world of literature.
Back in Puerto Berrio, Teresa is visiting the cemetery, which stirs up memories of a grim chapter in Colombian history. In 1987, right-wing paramilitaries savagely murdered Teresa's brother, Jeremiah, believing him to be a left-wing guerrilla. First, they dragged him behind a car. Then they fired 8 bullets into his body. And then Teresa's mother was killed.
Mama was an angel. When they shot her, I asked myself, for God's sake, how can they murder somebody who never did anybody any harm? That was the worst day of my life. I hated and cursed that day. I ceased to believe in God after they murdered my mom. It was November 10th, 1988, and my world fell apart. That day marked me for the rest of my life.
Teresa's mother, Maria Carmen, was shot on her farm by government troops without any apparent reason. The event traumatized her daughter.
The world changed completely from one day to the next. There was just darkness, not a star in the sky, not a spark of hope, nothing. I no longer believed in anything or anybody. I just wanted to die. I neglected myself. I had an 8-month-old baby and a 5-year-old daughter, but I asked myself what there was to live for. My husband said, "Teresa, we have this baby. You have to be strong for his sake." But I said, "Why did they kill her, Lalo? Why my mom? She never harmed anybody."
A year later, Teresa also lost her father. He was murdered by left-wing guerrillas. Years ago, Yamili started taking boxes of books into the poor barrios of Medellin. Later, she joined an organization called Raton de Biblioteca, which roughly translates as the Reading Rats. Their aim is to give young people a future. Yamili believes that peace and hope can only come from education and culture.
It says, "I touch your mouth. With my finger, I touch the seam of your mouth. Draw it as if it came from my hand, as if it were opening for the first time. And I only have to close my eyes to wipe it all out and start again from the beginning. And by some chance, which I don't even try to comprehend, it's a mouth that is the same shape as your mouth, which smiles under the mouth that my hand has drawn for you."
I've been coming here since I was 5, about 10 years. Yamile was the first person I met here. She read the first book to me.
An annual book festival is held in Medellin in which various institutions and publishers take part. This year, Yamili and the Reading Rats Foundation want to host a book circus for kids. It takes a lot of rehearsing.
It took us about 3 months to prepare. We had to talk to the actors, take their measurements, and get costumes made. That involved a lot of logistics. We attended the artists' rehearsals. We were there when they composed their songs, which were written especially for this occasion. It's very exciting to see the fruits of our labors at last. The book circus.
The question now is how the kids will respond. Will it encourage them to read? Back in Puerto Berrio, Teresa is reliving painful memories. Before going to the Ave Phoenix Foundation, she visits the place that has become for her the symbol of violence and terror in Colombia, the Magdalena River. She calls this her river. As a child, she loved this spot. And as a young woman, she met her boyfriend here on the bridge, like so many other young people. But the romantic meeting point became a place of mass executions.
In one night, they would bring 20 or 30 people here, line them up, murder them, and then throw their bodies into the river. If the bodies were meant to be found, they were simply thrown into the water. But when the murderers wanted the bodies to disappear, they tied stones to them. They often dismembered the bodies or filled the stomachs with stones to make them sink. That's the history of this bridge. Partly beautiful and partly terrible.
The bridge and the river led Teresa to the Ave Phoenix organization, which offered a way of coming to terms with her suffering. And not just for Teresa, but for thousands of other Colombians. Teresa turned the victims' organization into a nationwide mass movement, attracting members and support from all over the world.
Gradually, the victims came and told us their stories. I have also lost someone. My son was murdered. My husband was killed. Or one of my family has disappeared. And so we started writing down the stories and making connections. That helped us to come to terms with our pain.
It's been a while since Teresa has entered the Ave Phoenix office. For 6 years, she worked tirelessly here along with other women. What has become of the phoenix rising out of the ashes? Has he crumbled to dust?
I feel as if part of my soul is being wrenched. We fought hard to get a space for our organization. And look at the state it's in. Because I can't be here. I wish I could do something. I'm disappointed. I feel like we've lost ground. This office is part of Ave Phoenix. Oh well. We'll see what can be done. We must go on.
Meanwhile, in the capital, Bogota, we visit the working-class neighborhood where rapper Diana Abella grew up, without a father. In spite of the grinding poverty, Diana has happy childhood memories.
I
remember that lots of people struggled to survive, and they were happy in spite of everything. That's the first thing I associate with my childhood. I remember myself as a curious kid, always wanting to discover new things and try them out. My grandmother's death had a profound effect on me. She had always been with me when I was little because my mom had to work hard to provide for us on her own. I spent every day with my grandma. She was always there. When she died, it was clear to me that I was no longer a little girl who could expect protection and care from her grandma.
Diana still lives here in the Santa Rosa neighborhood. Her young son, Juan Diego, was also growing up without a father. Diana has clear rules for coexistence, rules about respect and equal rights. She's convinced that macho attitudes originate in the family and that mothers foster them.
I don't have to explain to Juan Diego what it means to be a man or a woman or how he must behave. I'm proud that he can see me as a role model and that he knows what I'm fighting for and what's important. He understands that it's not right to hit a girl under any circumstances. That's our golden rule. You never hit a girl under any circumstances.
Diana knows what it means to be a single mother, but thanks to her success as a rapper, at least she's financially independent.
The inequality in Colombia is hardest on single mothers. Not that these women are incapable of dealing with the situation. There are men in Colombia who pay 20,000 pesos a month for child support. That's $9 a month. Fortunately, Colombian women are real heroes and can bring up their kids on their own, even 2 or 3, without any difficulty.
Back to Medellin and the end of a working day. Yamili's son, Jose, is 6. His parents gave a lot of thought to what school they wanted him to attend. Not a private one, but a school where there is no violence. Yamili's husband, Fernando, is an artist. They're equal partners in their relationship, which is unusual in Colombia.
I think my husband and I have a good arrangement. We both take care of our son. We share the housework. We both go out to work. I can meet friends for a beer on my own while he looks after Jose. I think we've succeeded in getting rid of macho attitudes in our life.
It's painful for Teresa that her organization, Ave Phoenix, appears to have collapsed. But she isn't giving up. She gathers a few former colleagues in the community hall and encourages them to continue the work, even if she can't be present.
I'm sorry to say that Ave Phoenix has died. The office is neglected, with lots of dust and chaos. We always kept the office so clean. It saddens me, because Ave Phoenix became so well known, even internationally. You know that our most important work is remembering, and it must go on. It's the Victim's Bible, the law for the victims and the return of lands. For each of us, it's the Bible. It has lots of support from the people, but it needs your commitment. Ave Phoenix must not die. You can't achieve anything on your own.
Teresa gets her message across. Somehow the work will continue. It's not clear how, but at least there's hope. Medellin is finally ready for the annual book festival. Yamili and her Reading Rats organization have spent 3 months preparing their book circus. The tent is full of inquisitive and excited children. The show highlighting books, literature, and reading can begin. The festival lasts 10 days, and Yamili's circus tent is always full.
This applause isn't for us, it's for all of you. This 10-day festival is wonderful, and it's only possible here in Medellin.
Yamili wishes there were reading centers in every town and in every neighborhood. Places where kids can gain access to culture, to what is beautiful and good.
Colombia, I
think there are many women in Colombia involved in the struggle. Women who are very committed, who change the city a little every day. They're fighting for better living conditions and against the tradition of violence. Lots of women. And we get out of bed and start every day with great hope that change is possible.
Teresa has to leave Puerto Berrio. She's received anonymous phone calls and threats. She's still held accountable for her late husband's debts. Her daughter drives her to the bridge. But Teresa wants to walk over the Magdalena River alone, to say goodbye, and at the same time, draw strength from her memories. She'll carry on with Ave Phoenix, or rather, she'll start afresh.
What does Ave Phoenix mean to me? I can't touch it or smell it or taste it, but it means everything to me, because it rescued me from my sadness and bitterness. And most of all from hatred, a hatred that was too great for my body, and especially too great for my heart. I don't want Ave Phoenix to disappear. One day I will die, but Ave Phoenix must not die with me.
Back in Bogota, Diana Avila has fulfilled her promise and written a song about Teresa, Yamili, and herself. It's called The Three Warriors. Today she's recording it at the music studios.
Cuerpo el Magdalena y sus colores aún alberga en sus entrañas una vida sin vida, un alma anónima, es una historia, es su familia, son sus hijos, su mamá, es seguro un hombre desplazado por la violencia que asesinaron paracos por defender su tierra, es el dolor de una patria lanzados.
I messed up at the end. What do you think? Let's save that, and we'll do another take of the same verse. I'm inspired by the three women. Thanks. No, I don't like talking about myself. I prefer to talk about other women.
Diana believes that a different world is possible. That's why she's inspired by women like Teresa and Yamile.
¿Listo?
Okay, that's it.
Ya. Listo.
Diana has also made a video. It brings together three women, each of whom is struggling in her own way in a patriarchal society and a country crippled by violence. But Colombia will change. The peaceful warriors will see to that.
Desde Puerto Berrío, desde las comunas de Medellín.